Hello, today I'm going to show you how to make a homemade Ambilight that works with any HDMI device without the need for a computer. And the best part, it can be done without any tools. A while ago I saw that Philips had released an Ambilight, which worked with a device called Philips Sync Box and a Philips LED strip. And I loved it. Until I looked up the price, it was around $550. Not including shipping, something I clearly couldn't afford. So I decided to make my own for as little money as possible. But I wanted one that would work with any HDMI device and that didn't require a computer, like all the ones I saw, which I honestly find very crappy. Before we start assembling the hardware, let's start with the operating system. The operating system is called Hyperion, and it has been in development for a while now. Quite some time, therefore it is also very comprehensive. Installing it is also very easy. The first thing we are going to do is get ourselves a MicroSecure digital card, the one for cell phones. It has to be at least 2 gigabytes. We need to connect it to the PC with some MicroSecure digital to USB adapter or some card reader. I used a card reader. This is to be able to format it. Once detected, we download and open the Bellina Etcher program. At the same time, we download the operating system from the link I leave in the description, and we unzip it. Returning to the Bellina Etcher program, we select the file we just downloaded and then select our MicroSD card. We wait for it to load, and the software is already loaded. Now we are going to make it have internet. In the description, I leave a link that contains 2 files, one called SSH and another called WPA supplicant.conf. We drag this last one to a notepad, and we will change where it says SSID and PSK. Within the quotes, we enter the name of our Wi-Fi network and the password below. In that order, then we save it, and that's it. We close it. For that, we disconnect our memory reader and reconnect it. We will see that a new device called boot appears. We enter as if it were a flash drive, and inside we must drag the 2 files we talked about earlier into the device. Now insert the MicroSD card into the Raspberry Pi's designated slot. Now we're going to move on to connecting everything. The first thing we're going to do is place the LED strip on the television. To know how many meters we need is very simple. We just measure the perimeter of our television, that is twice the width plus twice the height. In my case, it was a 42-inch television, and the calculation showed that I needed 3 meters of strip. You can cut the LED strip between each LED if you have too much or if you need more. And on one end, we will have 3 wires, 1 red, 1 white, and 1 green. It's important that you start from there and make sure that where the wires start, it says plus 5 volts, DIN, and ground. If you happen to be missing, for example, 1 or 2 LEDs like me, and you don't want to buy another full meter, you can buy these independent LEDs. I'll also leave it in the description. Simply, where the LED strip ends, we solder 3 little wires and connect them on the strip where it says DOUT with the one that says DIN on the LED strip, the one that says 5B with the one that says 5B, and the ground with the ground. Although if you don't have a soldering iron or don't know how to use it, simply buy an extra meter and cut it where you need. Now let's get to assembling everything. We start with the HDMI splitter. On this one, on the input side, where there is only one HDMI, we put our Chromecast or whatever HDMI device you want to use. On the other side, we connect 2 regular HDMI cables. One would go to the HDMI input of your television, and the other to the audio-video converter. In the audio-video converter, we only connect the yellow cable, and at the other end, the same yellow cable to the capture card. And we connect the capture card through a USB to micro USB adapter to the Raspberry Pi. Keep in mind that all the links to the products I used are in the description in case you want to acquire the same ones. Finally, in the other micro USB port of the Raspberry, we connect the 5-volt power supply. To this power supply, we will cut the cable to find 2 wires inside, one red and one black. We are going to connect them following the same color order to the chip that came with the LED strip, connecting the red with the red and the black with the white. We will only have one free wire left, the green wire. We will put a 100 ohm resistor on this green wire. The direction doesn't matter, and we are going to connect it to pin 12 of the Raspberry. Please pay attention to this graphic to know exactly where to put it. You can also guide yourself by pausing the video. On the other hand, you need to power the HDMI splitter and the audio-video converter via USB. The cables are included, so you just connect them to any USB port. In my case, my 5-volt source has built-in USBs, so I connected them there. Once everything is connected, we can place all the pieces behind the television. You can stick and position them however you want. The important thing is that they are not visible. Once everything is done, we plug it in and wait for it to start. We wait 1 or 2 minutes and then do the following. We're going to set up our Ambilight, and for that we need to know the internet protocol. We're going to install an app called Fiend on our phone. We open it. Obviously, we have to be connected to our Wi-Fi network, and we press the first button where it says Search for Devices. We wait, and one should appear that says Raspberry. We select it, and at the very bottom, we will have our internet protocol. Keep in mind that it can say Raspberry, or it can also say Hyperion or Hyperion. Any of these 3 will work, and you will find it, because it's probably the only thing that comes up. We copy the internet protocol, and from our PC or cell phone, we put that same internet protocol in the browser, followed by 8090. We hit enter and a configuration website will open. I advise you to do it from a computer as it becomes easier. I spent some time adjusting my settings to achieve the best performance. So in the description, you will see the link to download my settings. Simply, we will go to where it says General and we hit the button that says Import. We select the file that I left you, and that's it. Your Ambilight is already pre-configured. We just need to edit one thing. In the LED Hardware tab, we click where it says LED Layout. And now this varies on each television. You will see that it asks you how many LEDs your television has on each side, as well as from which direction you put your LED strip. I suggest putting it the same way I did to avoid confusion. I started from the bottom right corner, and from there I went up. Obviously, this position is looking at the television from the front and not from the back. Now we need to count how many LEDs are on the top of the television, on the bottom, on the sides, and we are going to put these values in the configuration. Make sure that LED number 0 is in the lower right corner, as that's where we start. By modifying the input position value, you can move the location of the LEDs, and that's it. Now, if we can turn on the television, plug everything in, and our Ambilight should work without any problems. Perfect. But I didn't want to stay there. Remember, we put everything behind the television. I didn't like this, especially because if I wanted to change the source, the Chromecast, and put, for example, the PlayStation, it was going to be a mess since I had to take everything out. So I decided to put everything external. And yes, up to here, we were able to do everything without tools. And from here, if you want to do it like me, you will need certain things. The first thing I did was to reduce the size to the maximum. For that, I took all the components out of the plastics and brought them as close together as possible. Another thing I did was to change the HDMI to Video Graphics Array converter, and from Video Graphics Array to USB to simply an HDMI to USB board. This saves space and money, but why don't I recommend you do it? Because these have greater incompatibility issues. Although if you want to try exactly with the one I bought, I also leave a purchase link in the description. Once I knew how much all the components measured, I designed a 3D case where I put everything, I printed it and painted it black. I like the design of the Philips one, so I based it on that. If we look at the back side, I left the USB ports of the transformer to be able to power the Chromecast or whatever it was. There is an HDMI cable that goes to the television, the cable that brings the 220 volts, and the cable that goes to the television's LEDs, in addition to the HDMI port, and a female port to put whatever we want there, like a Play, the Chromecast, etc. Underneath, I put a cloth with fleece so it doesn't scratch and so it looks nice, and that's how it turned out. I infinitely prefer it to having everything behind the television, but both options are valid. I'll leave you with some tests I did with the Ambilight in the background. I've been using it for quite a long time now, and it's always worked wonders. A hidden feature it has is that it comes with a mode that allows it to connect to a Philips Hue emulator as if it were an original Hue sync. And it allows us, with the Philips app, to control the LEDs as if it were a smart LED strip, leaving them in the fixed color we want. For that, we need a Philips Bright emulator. But I'm going to explain this in depth in another video that I'm going to upload specifically about this. If you're interested, please subscribe. The Ambilight will always work with whatever HDMI input you use, and it will all be automatic. It's also a good idea to use a device like this, which allows us to connect several HDMI devices and switch them with a remote control. But I didn't see it necessary for my case. In the end, among all the components, I spent less than $50. It would be approximately $500 cheaper than Philips's original, excluding shipping costs. And there's really nothing to envy either. And if you've made it this far, maybe consider joining my Patreon page. With a monthly contribution, you will help me make more and better videos in addition to accessing exclusive content, like discussing future videos for the channel, among other topics. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and comment. See you next time. Bye.